Okay, hi everybody. We got our last session of the day. This is going to be a big one. Sustainable solutions at all scales, building community, regional and global. It's a very big topic. And we're going to look at sustainability across different scales in architecture and hospitality developments. And our next panel has really good practitioners give their insights into what they're doing, how they're doing it, and where they're doing it, and new sustainable benchmarks, which is a really interesting topic. So with that, I want to hand it over to DMG's very own Luke Hill, who is going to introduce the speakers and take it from there. Hope you enjoy this session. Good luck. I think it's on the chair.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Alan. Fantastic dancing. Thank you very much. Enjoyed that. Brilliant. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. It's been a fantastic day here at Find, and I know I'm standing between you and some well-deserved drinks after this for the reception. But thank you for joining us. We have a fantastic panel and some fantastic speakers. So thank you for joining us. I will very briefly introduce every speaker's name, then I'll ask them all to please come up and join us. At that point, that's when you applaud. So please applaud all of them together as they walk up. The first one, Alessandro Marzucchini, Technical Director, MMC Lead for Ramboll. Eugene Yap, President and Chairman, Hotel and Restaurant Association of the Philippines. Jocelyn Yong, Senior Associate for RSP. And Hann, from Head of Sustainability, Urban Renewal at Keppel. Please welcome them all to the stage. Please applaud. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, yes. Eugene, sorry, please, if you'd like to stand there. Thank you. Jocelyn next to you, and then Alessandro. Fantastic. Thank you all very much. And I know we've just taken our seat, but I'll be handing over to our first speaker, Eugene, who will be kicking things off. Eugene, please.
If you don't mind, my staff. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Luke, the rest of the team. Good afternoon. So I'd like to show you just a few of the slides, what's happening in the Philippines. As you can see in front of you, the slide, lately we had two devastating floods. And, the floods can reach as high as the rooftops here. Okay, next slide. As you can see, it reached also in the residential area. So it's quite unfortunate that the road infrastructure systems would damage vehicles, buildings, and of course other public works. So these just recently happened in the Philippines, maybe 2 weeks ago. And next slide, okay. As you all know, in the Philippines, we have the most popular tourist destination, which is known as the Boracay Island. Unfortunately, it was closed for 6 months since April 2016. It was closed for rehabilitation and repairs because there was an overusage of these tourist destination. Many illegal structures since then were removed, as well as the continuous development of that in that property. Okay, next slide. Now, our president, President Marcos, has identified water as an important source of natural resource in the Philippines. So we need water like any country in the world. Water is very important. So I'll show you the next slide later. The previous slides, as you can see, even though we had devastating rainfall, you can stay on the fourth slide. Even though we had devastating floods, those floods did not come only from rainwater, but also from the dam. The dam water was released so that it wouldn't break. So you see how much water was, shall we say, wasted, into the sea. All right, next slide. Energy cost in the Philippines is quite high. It's actually in Asia the second highest, second to Japan. And industrialized countries, I think in the 2000, have estimated that power consumption will be around 3%, the average consumption in their property as vis-a-vis the revenues. China would be higher at 7%, but the Philippines would be much higher than 7%, can reach as high as 10 to 11%. So you see our challenge in the Philippines. In front of you, we have Republic Act number 11285. It is a law passed sometime in 2019, giving incentives to the people or to the establishment who are able to conserve energy. Right? My friend, Mr. Kingston Sian, who used to be the Newport World Resort CEO, has established to counter this, has stopped, the energy cost, has established many saving devices such as heat recovery and using solar panels, etc. And he reported that there is good ROI percentage of using sustainable solutions. Okay, next slide. As you can see, Boracay has been reborn. Boracay now is much cleaner and more infrastructure was put in. However, Boracay, when it was since opened in 2016 and 2017 at the time, still faced challenges in trying to recover the market that it lost during its rehabilitation. So it shows that it's best that we should be able to observe sustainability from the head start. The design infrastructure must be built for it so that there will be no disturbance. Okay? Now, the next slide, let's look at the 5 top inbound markets to the Philippines. The importance of this one is to realize who are the tourists that would be coming to the Philippines and what do they expect from the Philippines. So these countries like Korea would be the top, the United States, Japan, Australia, and China would really honor establishments that would look for sustainability. So now the trend in the Philippines for hotels, restaurants, they're now looking into sustainable ecosystem, shall we say, in the hotels and the resorts. All right, next slide. Now, in the Philippines in the next 5 years, we will have 158 new hotels. That would be around to 40,000 rooms. So as you can see, opportunities in the Philippines will be emerging in the next 5 years. I hope the design team, the architecture team, and the engineering team would be able to look at this as an opportunity in the Philippines. Okay, next slide. All right, I'll just give you just a few slides of some of the properties in the Philippines. The Friends of the Association, who I belong to, the Hotel and Restaurant Association Philippines, the Philippine Hotel Owners Incorporated, they have shared to me their slides, what they are trying to observe. No, so the first is Amarella Resort, located in the Bohol province, that is in the middle of the Philippines. The highlights in the sustainability projects include wastewater recycled back into vegetation irrigation, and some of their food debris, instead of just throwing it out, are given to the local hog farms for further animal nutrition. So the next slide would be the Dusi Tani Lubi Plantation Resort. It's around 88 hectares, and they have an aquifer system, which, the fresh water, any fresh water that flows down or rainwater, it collects down through the sand into a filter system and treated and recycled back. So it was also one of the biggest solar panel energy system, around 1 hectare sized. They also observed food wastage minimization due to its sustainability program. It now hosts marine sanctuary where you can actually see, for example, dolphins and whales. So I know the divers and the snorkelers and the deep sea, and some of the light sea divers would like to visit those properties. Furthermore, like any other sustainable resorts, they're giving, these are just some of the highlights that they are observing. Okay, this is just an example in front of you. Okay, next slide. So this is the slide. Okay, some of the examples, like as I mentioned, food wastage minimizing, solar panels, etc. Okay, next slide. Before that, okay, that is the last slide. That's last slide. Okay, before that, the slide is not included. Also, Banwa Island is one of the biggest island resort in the Philippines. It is one of the biggest island resort actually in the world. Now, unfortunately, I was able to put it in the slide. Now, it boasts of quite a very expensive price tag for 22 guests. It will cost you as much as $100,000 a night for that one. So as you can see, as I mentioned here, really island resorts, to maintain that very pristine condition, they really have to observe sustainability projects. Now, next one, I did not, no more slides. And further that, no more, this is slide. Okay, previous to that, please. Okay, some of them have, shall we say, observed indoor farming. You know about it. They have planted some plantation, they plant vegetables in their own properties. And Newport hotels have reported that they source it out as much as 40% of their vegetable requirements in their own backyard. And it will cost them 30% lower. All right? So in the last slide, I would like to thank these wonderful gentlemen, Bong, Kingston, Patrick, and Bobby, for helping me out in allowing me to share their slides and property information. So thank you. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you very much, Eugene. That was excellent. And I think you did a fantastic job articulating the scale of the challenge initially in terms of environmental challenges that Philippines has to manage, but then also some of the efforts that are being made by your members in very beautiful locations. To my shame, I have not yet visited the Philippines. I think I'll have to now after seeing some of those resorts. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now, delighted to hand over to Jocelyn.
Hello, a very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jocelyn, so I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very pleased to be here to be able to share about a bit of our company and also the work that we have done recently. So at RSP, our design philosophy focuses on people. We believe that great design is more than just aesthetics. It's about more creating our spaces and connects people together. So we want to bring stories to life through thoughtful thinking so that it makes a long-lasting impact on the communities. So our goal is to create, a better future so that every project are green and practical. So again, at RSP, we want to not just create sustainable buildings, but we just want to craft experiences that where the design truly connects with the humanity. So since 2022, we have introduced our RSP SM Energy Group. It's together with our engineering arm, the Square Med company. It is a dedicated team that drives the sustainability across all the RSP projects. So by integrating the innovative energy solutions, we want to ensure that we meet and also exceed the growing demand for the environmentally responsible design. So this really truly reflects our commitment to shaping a greener environment and a more sustainable world. So one of the recent work that I have worked on focuses on sustainability, which is the Singapore Institute Technology Punggol campus at the Punggol area. So this is actually just newly opened earlier September this year and had already welcomed over 3,000 students today. Okay, so the campus is located in the northeast of Singapore, Punggol. Punggol back then was a farmland and has now transformed into a thriving eco-town today. So the Punggol Digital District Master Plan is designed to actually integrate all the business, innovations, the communities all together, and it is recognized as the smart and sustainable hub. So the campus is also part of the district, where it serves a model for the future modern development. So the SIT campus is a great example for sustainable architecture, showing our commitment to eco-friendly design and new ideas. So the project does not only meet today's sustainability standard, but also raises the bar for the future construction of responsible design. So we actually design to bring the community and the university closer together, so that encourage collaboration. This is very important because it is for learning and innovation. So I would say that it is not just an educational institution, but a community hub. So the SIT campus also exemplifies a large-scale sustainable solution. At the building scale itself, we have incorporated like the solar panels for all the building blocks, and also the building integrated photovoltaics at the food court building blocks. So this has significantly minimized the carbon footprint for the campus. So sustainability was also embedded throughout the construction. We utilize the mass engineered timber, which is also known as the MET, because the material is typically greener than typical steel or concrete. We also design by prioritizing to maximize the day lighting, the natural ventilation. So this is to create a more comfortable, healthy indoor environment for the staff and the students. So for SIT campus, we also design to include the green areas and the public areas together that encourage a community engagement. So that this does not only promote the well-being, but also to support the sustainable behaviors, like reducing the energy use or the waste minimization. So in overall, we aim to shape the urban areas sustainably. So using SIT campus as one of the model. So because we want to promote a more eco-friendly in the design planning, where every project, we ensure that the future projects are always green and practical. So looking ahead, we want to create a better future where every project will be able to help to contribute to a more healthy, a more sustainable, and setting the standards where the other can follow. Yeah, so that's about my sharing. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jocelyn. Beautiful campus. Thank you. We'll look forward to hearing a little more about human-centered designs after the presentations. Please, Alessandro, it's your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alessandro, and I'm from Ramboll. Ramboll is an engineering consultancy. We have office here in Singapore, and it's an international consultancy, so with headquarters in Denmark. Today's topic is about modern methods of construction, also called in the industry MMC. And this is a topic which is becoming more and more relevant within the built environment. And the reason is because it promises to address the key challenges that our industry is currently facing. So when we talk about MMC, we refer to the use of innovative technologies and the use of industrialization in the construction processes. It is often also referred to as modular construction, or in the Singapore context as design for manufacturing and assembly, DFMA. But essentially, what the modular approach does is that it takes the entire construction approach much more holistically, and it doesn't try to find the solution to a specific problem that the industry faces nowadays, but instead is rethinking the whole process, taking a step back and taking us to different outcomes. So what we are experiencing today is really a switch from what used to be construction sites to assembly sites. But what are the technologies that we can use within the MMC, within the modular design? There is quite a variety of different technologies, but those can be grouped into three macro categories by typologies. One is what we call the kit-off parts, where single components are prefabricated in a factory and then transported to site for installation. This is the one that's been in the industry for the longest time among the other system typologies. Now, one way to push this typology further is by looking at what we call the volumetric construction. In this case, we prefabricate components in the factory, but we also pre-assemble them also in the factory to form complete volumes. And the pre-assembly can extend not only to the structural parts of things, but also to the services and even the architectural finishes, so that the modules will be totally pre-finished already from the factory, transported to site for ease of assembly. So this can really maximize the benefits of speed, quality, safety, and also the sustainability aspects. But it comes with some architectural constraints that have to be dealt with by the designers during the design stages. Finally, there is a third typology, which is the hybrid. In the case of hybrid, we bring together the benefits of elements together with the volumetric. So we prefabricate and we pre-assemble, but the components don't have to form complete volumes. It could be a floor plate already pre-assembled to a facade system and then transported to site. So we still get the benefits of volumetric, but at the same time, we manage to overcome some of the constraints that are introduced by the volumetric. So it gives us designers more flexibility. Also, in terms of flexibility, the use of MMC provides a wide material flexibility. So we can design for manufacturing and assembly using steel, for example, but also concrete, timber, or hybrid materials. In this case, we may want to mix and match different materials to maximize the benefit that each material can bring to the table. For example, we want to use a lightweight flooring system to reduce the weight, which can ease the logistics. Imagine these modules will have to be lifted by cranes on site. But then we want to use a more durable material, for example, for the balconies, where we want to use reinforced concrete due to the aggressive environmental conditions. So mixing and matching allow us to achieve the best of the materials which are available. Now, in terms of experience, within Ramboll, we have done projects across the globe, and this is just a global map that shows some of the key projects that we worked on across different geographies and continents. And they really encompass the different system typologies that we talked about, from the elements, volumetric, and hybrid. In the next couple of slides, I'll just show a couple of projects, just expanding on those to see how we managed to develop efficient solutions to address the challenges and the project-specific requirements. The first project takes us to Hong Kong, where we developed a student accommodation for the University of Hong Kong. This is two towers, 20-story each. It was recently completed in June 23, so about 1 year ago. And it comprises two towers, 20-story each, 17-story of which are modular volumetric construction on top of a 3-story conventional podium. And in this project, what we did is that by starting at the early stage of design, coordinating with all the designers and the architects, we managed to develop efficient layouts, which improved efficiency. And by doing that, we delivered almost 1,000 modules, as the table shows on the screen, by only having 5 module size variations. So a small number of module variations, but with high repeatability, which means that we managed to achieve efficiency, cost efficiency, and economy of scale. What the video shows on the screen is the assembly and the modularization process, which can be also put in the high-rise context with similar principles. The next project takes us to the Middle East in Saudi Arabia, where we deliver a completely different type of project. As you see from the architectural render, the architectural expectations was to achieve a much more bespoke architecture, something that you wouldn't expect from modular construction, which usually is associated with a very like a boxy type of look. But we still managed to deliver this project quite efficiently using modular construction. And that was done by implementing a hybrid approach where we identified some areas of the buildings which were suitable for modular volumetric. And that was delivered together with a more of a kito part approach, which was used for the large balconies areas and the circulation spaces, where we use steel and precast planks to solve those areas. So a hybrid approach which combines different system typologies was the right answer to deliver and respect the architectural expectations. So to summarize, what are the key benefits that MMC can bring to projects? Definitely the speed of construction is a key benefit, and that can be maximized by concurrently pre-manufacturing off-site and also enabling the works on-site so that the project timeline can be minimized. But also the quality that can be achieved by shifting the works from the site to a controlled factory environment where the workers can also work safely. But also the sustainability, which can be obtained by reducing the carbon footprint, by minimizing construction waste, also reducing the energy consumption on site, and finally by preserving the biodiversity with less disruptive construction sites. Also reduction of disruption, especially when it comes to noise disruption, which is particularly important, especially in densely urbanized areas. And there is also some indirect benefits that MMC can bring, which is the socio-economic growth, especially by upskilling the local workforce, which can become highly skilled, and that can bring economic growth to the countries, especially for developing countries. That's a great opportunity for socio-economic development. Also resilience that can be enhanced. And finally, the adaptability. With this, we come to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Alessandro. And last, certainly by no means least, Hann, please.
Thank you. I realize I'm standing, or rather sitting between you and a happy hour, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. Can you hear me? All right. Okay, so in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be sharing on sustainable urban renewal, and that is an act of taking an existing building, turning it around, trying to make it a bit more efficient through retrofitting, as well as through sustainable design strategies. You guys would have seen this slide in some form, in one way or another. It's ways of how you yourself can become a bit more sustainable. Only works if it works as a collective. But in the context of buildings, a new build would have minimum, in this case, positive impact to the environment. No build would render all of us out of a job. No fine design fair next year, because nothing to do. Adaptive reuse would be somewhere in between. And that would be taking what we already have, preserve the embodied carbon, for example, and then turning that into a new product with potentially a new use. There's a lot of context behind this, clearly, as in global warming, climate change, what that means in this case for temperatures rising by the end of the century compared to pre-industrial levels. Buildings account, as you know, for about 40% of that. That number has gone up in the past 20 to 30 years. Out of that, a huge percentage is in operational carbon, and that's in actually how we can basically design buildings to become more energy saving and more sustainable. So Szue, or Sustainable Urban Renewal, is really a service to look at what kinds of buildings can be looked at, can be invested in, and also can then be converted and designed and operated in a more sustainable fashion. Conceptually, it really talks about carbon avoidance in that we avoid the embodied carbon that it takes to raise down or demolish a building and build it right back up. All right, that's a lot of carbon in there, not to mention time and cost. As it's completed, you then decarbonize that building through sustainable solutions. And then you use a lot of that material, a lot of what you talked about as well, in recarbonization, taking constituent materials, and giving it a new lease of life. Therefore, turning a building into a great building through sustainable solutions, and then into a great place through programs, maybe such as this, through programs that activate the space through placemaking. In making the building greener, saving the carbon, for example, 40,000 tons in the case of Keppel Bay Tower right down the road, and then introducing various types of technologies, which then cascade into energy savings over time, as well as in operation. So all these solutions then populate our strategy for actually saving the carbon of the building in operation, as well as in this case, saving the electrical consumption. These technologies come from all over the world, many of them from Europe, the US, the far reaches of different corners of the globe as well. And in doing so, it creates a portfolio of different strategies that you can then apply onto the building. If anyone here is a designer, an architect, an engineer, all this will come as nothing new. What really is the magic is, in this case, the combination of these strategies to optimize, in this case, GFA, to maximize the performance of the building and to introduce new customer experiences as a result of decarbonization, including programs that you can apply with, apps, just as with everything these days, but really programs that would activate, in this case, your workspace, for instance. One such example is an asset in Korea. This is about 40 years old. It overlooks a UNESCO protected palace. What we've done is, through retrofitting, looks like a complete new building, but it does keep some of the existing structure. By shaving off the top 3 stories as a result of new height control requirements by the government, as well as therefore expanding the floor plates. These are the different play cuts or some of the strategies that you saw earlier being applied onto the building, some customized, mostly curated, therefore saving 30% of the energy consumption per year, leading, of course, to financial savings and building valuation as well. So Szue ultimately is a strategy to do that, right? To maintain, in this case, the existing structures of the building, giving it a new lease of life, and turning it into something brand new. Closer to home, and I'm nearing the end now, this is Keppel Bay Tower. Again, a 22-year-old building that's undergone retrofitting in the past few years. It's got a new coat of paint, but more than that, again, new layouts, new finishes, and a new aesthetic that's maybe more tenable and more amenable to the new tenant demands of today. Energy saving solutions as well that leads to 30% savings. Indoor air quality, which is crucial in terms of retaining tenants and making sure they don't suffer from the sick building syndrome. The greatest hits of all these solutions that we've adapted onto this building, making it the first and perhaps still the only existing net zero commercial building or commercial tower in Singapore. We've also applied LED lightings for tenants. These are intelligent LEDs, not your run-of-the-mill types, in exchange for them signing on to green leases and constantly monitoring the performance and optimizing it as we speak. And here's a slightly different example. It's a redevelopment, and that is when we find that the embodied carbon of actually preserving the 2 existing buildings before this does not quite justify the efficiencies and the benefits that you do get from a new design. So in this case, a new facade. The facade continues down into a canopy. That canopy then becomes a shelter for the POPS space, or the privately owned public space, and within the building, all sorts of new amenities as well. Now, with the facade, you also get a chance to provide, in this case, a first layer of defense against the tropical heat therefore saving quite a bit of energy through the shading design. This design by NBBJ and Architect 61. These solutions also trickle through at the workstation level, where you can customize anything from your air temperature to your lighting controls, hopefully therefore becoming, in this case, a more attractive space, in this case for the new type of workspace, as well as a new type of tenant. A swimming pool looking over the restaurants that then overlooks, in this case, the public space once again, that draws in the new community within the Tanjong Pagar Historical District. And with that, I'll close by saying urban renewal really has a chance or the opportunity to create greener, healthier, and better spaces, just like everyone who spoke before me. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Hann, and thank you all very much for your presentations. We've got just over about 10 minutes left. I've got a question for each of you based on your presentations I'd love to ask. I'd ask each of you just to keep your answers to maybe 2 minutes or so. Hopefully we'll have time for a question or two from the audience as well. If I may, Alessandro, if I begin with you, please. Your MMC lead, of course, so the motivation for having that front of mind is clear to you. It's your job, it's your role. How do you ensure that MMC, I guess, is ingrained within your organization, within your operation? As you articulated the benefits of it, how do you ensure that everyone's focused on the same priorities?
Sorry.
How do you ensure everyone's focused on the same MMR priorities, MMC priorities?
How do we ensure that we achieve the targets? And
yes.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, when it comes to MMC, we want to basically introduce an innovative way as opposed to conventional. So what's important is really to understand what are the project-specific challenges and how can MMC bring value and do things. By doing things in a different way, how can MMC improve the project outcomes? So it's really important to understand what are the challenges with a specific project. Now, generally, when it comes to conventional construction, the typical challenges that we see on projects, there are common challenges such as the very low efficiency of sites, the time intensity, the high amount of labor which is required, and also the high carbon footprint, the noise. So these are the common challenges that we see on conventional construction sites. And what happens is that often there are additional challenges, which is because of the unpredictability of events that can happen on sites, such as, for example, delay due to the procurement of materials. So what MMC does is that it takes a completely different approach, and it's introducing an approach which looks so holistically, not only at the design part, but also at the manufacturing process. And by doing that, it will manage to improve the outcomes. For example, by shortening the time frame for a project, and by doing that, really maximize the benefits that we can achieve. But at the same time, we can also achieve sustainability benefits. So really achieving efficiency, time efficiency, labor efficiency, because we require a minimum amount of labor on site, and at the same time also with less time, which is great, because usually with conventional sites, if you want to complete it quicker, you have to use more labor. So with MMC, it's the other way. We can use less labor, complete quicker, and at the same time also reducing the carbon footprint, minimizing construction waste, so improves the circularity. And additional benefits such as the reduction of the energy consumption on sites, in addition to, for example, the reduction of noise, which in some sites become the really key driver. So that's why, as I said, the key is really to understand what are the challenges with a specific project. For example, we had a project where a key requirement was it was an extension of an existing hospital, and the key requirement was to expand the hospital while keeping it operational. So it was important to have a construction technology that would minimize the noise, because otherwise it would have been obviously very disruptive for the operation of the hospital. So MMC in that case was key in order to enable to achieve the project outcomes. So it's really important to understand the project specific outcomes, and based on that, tailor the strategy of how we can maximize that for the project.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Eugene, thank you for your presentation. You articulated I think the scale of the challenge really well, which the rest of our panelists have done a good job of going to some extent of explaining some of the solutions.
if I could ask, could you perhaps elaborate a bit more on some of the examples of collaboration between public and private, operations in terms of sustainability in the Philippines?
The concept of sustainability or the sustainability project in the Philippines, shall we say, is more of an emerging market. And mostly it is the private sector in the Philippines that has done the first foot forward in the Philippines. No, the government would look at it and look at it very positively, as it eventually benefits the neighborhood, the municipalities around that. So it's a good symbiosis right now. So the more these resorts and hotels, establishment would observe sustainability, of course, like I said, the more municipalities benefit from it. So right now, the opportunities for both local and maybe international designers, architectural firms, or engineering firm is to create more solutions, to create more possibilities for the challenges that we have in the Philippines. The Philippines, we have suffered, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of calamities and even earthquakes, seismic problems that we have. So these are the things that I pose this as an opportunity for the audience right now to come to the Philippines and take a look and probably even improve on what we're doing now. The Philippines resorts are usually located in the rural areas, the far-flung, farther away from the urban areas. So they are made to fend for themselves. So they have innovated many of the solutions that we are looking for right now. It is probably the same observance that we are doing around the world. And there are more opportunities. I'm sure there are more improvements later on. So the government has passed a law in 2019 giving incentives to those people who will be able, for example, to conserve more energy. Now, that is part of the energy side. We need more design of the concrete infrastructure about water and other resources. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Eugene. Jocelyn, you spoke about human-centered design in your presentation and how that's at the core of RSP's philosophy. How do you ensure that the needs of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, how do you ensure that they're considered when you're going through your design process, your planning process?
So I believe that sustainability varies across locally, culturally, or geographical contexts. So people in different region or with different background, so they tend to prioritize the elements like the energy conservation, the water management, or even the communal spaces very differently. So with this human-centered design philosophy that we have, we ensure that all these have carefully thought about it and for all these changes. So we want to design to individual specific needs, whether it is through like flexible spaces or climate responsive strategies. We want to ensure that sustainable is very meaningful for the individual using the environment. And also by focusing on the individual needs, we don't just create a sustainable building, but we also want to promote or encourage people to adopt in the eco-friendly habits, so that when people feel very close to the environment, there's a connection to then eventually that will also lead to people engage in these sustainable practices. Yeah, so that's about it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hann, if I might, so decarbonisation, obviously you spoke very well about that in your presentation and Keppel's approach to that. But decarbonisation is effectively one strand, one focus. And we know more of a holistic approach is really required to deliver results. So can you speak a little bit more, expand upon Keppel's other priorities in that respect, please?
Yeah, so it's one thing, reducing the amount of energy that you use is quite something else when you talk about actually getting that energy in the first place. So a lot of what Keppel does also is in sourcing for different modes of the procurement of, in this case, clean energy, primarily renewable energy, but also looking at possible sources of, for example, hydrogen, cogeneration. That extends all the way to the usage of, for example, Scope 1 and 2 emissions. Scope 1 being, of course, that comes from vehicles as well. So electric vehicle charges also something that we supply. We treat that with a bit of caution, of course, because again, it's the question of where the source of that electricity comes from. So I guess the broader answer to your question is how do we, first of all, minimize the use of energy? How do you therefore procure as much clean energy as possible, whether through infrastructure or even through transnational agreements? And then finally, how do you behaviorally, right, create, in this case, a pattern or a cycle, in this case, of low energy consumption behavior?
That's great. Thank you very much. A nice little circular motion there in terms of bringing it back to one of Jocelyn's points as well. No, that's great. I think Alan might let us have just one question from the audience.
I think we could do one.
If we've got one question. If anyone's got a question.
Some brave souls. Give us a question here. Who wants the microphone? Crickets again. I've got one. Is there a size project, and I think on the very small size, where sustainability becomes impractical because of the cost benefit into such a small project to implement big technologies? I think it's obvious as the scale grows how it's very relevant, but are there projects that you've come across that are too small to implement, and if so, why? It could be no also, I don't know.
I think generally the local codes look at, let's say, 5,000 square meters of gross floor area. So anything less than that need not be subject, in this case, to a green certification, green mark in this case. And there is a basis behind that. That basis is there are certain engineering systems that would benefit buildings of a larger scale. So if you move from a room which is cooled by, in this case, a split unit, to a building which is cooled by a VRV or a chiller unit, to something larger such as MBS as this, which is cooled by a district cooling plant, clearly the benefits of scale, or the economies in this case of scale,
as it ramps
would
up,
be reaped over time. That being said, I think beyond the energy point of view, the smallest of projects, it could be this, it could be a seat, it could be anything.
Sure.
That too can be manufactured in a fairly responsible way, and that could be through circular economy type of strategies in using recycled materials or recyclable materials downstream. It could be also finding the best sources of production for each of these elements. So there's no finite skill either in the large sense of things or on the other side of the size skill. There's no finite skill to sustainability.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. No, just a final point. Thank you all very much. I think we'll hand back, but please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Fantastic panel.